Hello, folks, and welcome back to The Rebel's Edge, where it always feels so good when you stop hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. And that hammer has been basically all of the tech stocks that are getting hammered, with the exception of Google yesterday. But other than that, pretty much it's been bang, bang, bang every day. And Pete and I are going to break down for you what is starting to look tasty after these significant corrections. That, sports, and macro on today's Rebel's Edge.
Somebody's got a stogie.
Yep. But you know what? It's not as humid here. Pete and I are on the Cardone Foundation cruise, folks. Again, it benefits the literacy outreach that Grant Cardone, our business partner, does for inner city kids and people in other countries as well. But anyway, it's a fabulous trip. A lot of nice people support the charity. And I thought it would be a little more humid, Pete. So my cigars, I'm going to have to find a humidor to put them in, I guess, because some of them are getting kind of dried out.
It's dried out. It's a little bit cloudy. It's not quite what you expect when you come to the Keys, right? You're looking for sunshine. We had it yesterday, but we just don't have it today. It might break through. We'll see. It's still beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And there are definitely worse places you could be. For instance, on the floor of the New York. Where everybody's, crying bitter tears over the markets for the last couple of days. So right into macro, Pete, people are still talking about, high valuations in tech stocks, uncertainty surrounding the upcoming economic releases, and, of course, the delayed U.S. jobs report, as well as NVIDIA's announcement. What more could we put on top of?
It is pretty amazing. It is amazing, John. I mean, all the things that are thrown at the market. So it's understandable why the market's reacting the way it is, where people, you know what, when in doubt, palms out. We've said it forever, and it's true now. And that's what we're seeing. People are in doubt. There's a lot of confusion out there. And we're most of the way through the earnings season. And by the way, as we've gotten all the way to where we are now, John, now we're starting to see a few of the earnings that aren't so great. And I bring up something like a Home Depot, where you look at it and you go, where is this thing? So that I think is part of the problem as well. And as you mentioned, NVIDIA, I mean, everybody wants to know, how are they going to put this out there from the earnings from them? Because as people, hopefully this block where they are, which is now basically, and I think people are waiting to hear what Jensen Huang's going to say. Is he going to say enough to be able to maybe turn this ship? Because this is what people are pointing at right now. Is AI, is it a bubble? Is it this? Is it that? And what about names like NVIDIA? Well, we're going to find out after they deliver their earnings, John.
Well, I'm going to go right to the TNX, Pete, which, as you know, is like a measure of the bond yield. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people, when they see it, the bonds themselves, they don't really know. You can just type in TNX and you're going to get what the yield is. The CME tool, Pete, is showing right now a dead 50-50 shot for December 10th when they meet again for deciding the direction on interest rates. They are split, and this is something that we're going to have to, I guess, debate all the way up until December 10th, since it's 50-50. Is it going to be further accommodation, or is it going to be caution? I still think it should be further accommodation. That doesn't mean just because I think it, that's what they're going to do, though. What do you got, Pete?
And we're together on that thought, by the way. I got the volatility index, John, because now are we getting to the point where we do get a little bit sticky, right? I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, and this morning we started out, we were basically, call it 23.5 to 24, up 6%, got up and over 25, which actually was up more than 12%. So we've had a pretty big run. We've eased back slightly. Yesterday, the VIX was trading a little bit closer to a 21. And oh, by the way, yesterday we also had the volatility index itself getting some unusual option activity. And I'll tell you what, John, some sizable 29,000 calls. Is it 50 cent? I don't think this is 50 cent, but it's somebody out there who wanted to get into the options world, into the volatility index itself. They bought the February 24 calls for about 290, and that was with the VIX trading a lot closer to 20. So I think that they did pretty well in a one-day trade if they chose to do that, but they might want to hang on, John, because I'm starting to wonder, is plus 20 going to be sticky enough that we actually start getting a little bit closer to that 2025 range?
Well, that would be interesting, and it would imply that we're going to see a lot more days like today.
Yeah,
which, of course, I've heard from a lot of customers that would say that no mas, Pete, no more. They're kind of tired of getting hit in the head with that hammer. All right, let's talk about Amerisports, Pete, because shares, the symbol here is AS, and many of you have probably rarely seen this one, but they do sell a lot of interesting sports gear, and they had double-digit gains across many of their product lines, Pete. Significant gains in China and Asia Pacific, which is perhaps why many of us have not followed this stock as closely. But it really seems that the outdoor stuff, Pete, like Arc'teryx and Salomon on the footwear side and Arc'teryx on the, they have that little skeleton of a dinosaur, Pete, as the model or as the logo on their shirts. And they seem to have done pretty well. And boy, we did have some unusual activity in this one. Did the stock pop incredibly because of the activity? No, but the earnings were pretty good. Yep. There's when the stock was 32.56 this morning. Again, symbol AS, folks. So when you want to follow this one, just check out AS, and that'll give you where it is. Right now, it's north of 33, Pete.
Yeah, their net sales, John, were increased by 30%. You look at the beat that they got on the earnings side of things, that was great as well. A year ago, they were getting earnings of 14 cents. Now they're getting 33. I'd say that's some pretty decent growth. These guys are doing everything right now. And you brought it up. You said the outdoor performance stuff, that's where they really are doing so well. They talked about the sales in that particular category being up 36%. I'd say that's pretty strong as well. Strong gross margins. The solid balance sheet, everything about what they did sounded very, very good. 6% seems like kind of a limp, quite honestly, and I'm not sure why it was only up 6%, John. This felt like a stock that, because of what they delivered, would have been up maybe 10, 12%, something like that. So interesting to see. I also looked at the PE. It's only a 26. This isn't one of these things that's out in the stratosphere somewhere. So everything about what they were able to put up, I thought was impressive. I like this stock. I think this is one of those stocks where you might want to keep this one in mind because they seem to be doing a lot of things very, very well. And because of that, I'm certainly going to have this sitting on my computer. I do not have a position in there right now, but I sure do like what they were able to put up from a year ago to where they are now and what it looks like into the future.
Well, let's talk about another one, Pete, that we've actually covered, Axalta, before. They're a coatings company, folks. Yeah. So, in other words, they provide coating, and that's a $25 billion market cap. They're going to do an all-stock merger, Pete. On the announcement of this merger, the stock popped all the way to 29.5, roughly. It's pulled back. It's basically at 28, which is pretty close to unchanged on the day. 28.18 is unchanged. So, yeah, it's interesting that they would pop on this deal that'll create that coatings giant by merging with Asco Noble. But I think overall, Pete, they had it right. They're taking out a really big competitor, and that's probably bullish for this stock.
Oh, I totally agree with you, John. I mean, and they talked about the revenue going to be about $17 billion. Not so bad. They also talked about all the synergies and the $600 million that they see with that as far as cost. So complementary, portfolios that you're looking at here. And how about this? I didn't realize how much they really had, John, but with the combination of what they've got 100 different brands. They got 173 different manufacturing sites and 91 R&D facilities. So these guys are really becoming something really monstrous. And if you take away your competition and now you're together with them, I would say that they're in a really good spot. This is a name that I absolutely am keeping, going to be on my computer as well, John, because it seems to me that they are really sitting pretty in the right spot at the right time. They've done a great job in the past, and I don't know why they wouldn't continue to do so. I'm pretty excited about this one. I think that this really could be something that people are going to start looking at and saying, well, even the PE is great. Everything about what they're going to be as this combination company, it's pretty daggone strong, and I think that they're going to be very well positioned to do extremely well now, John, based on the fact that they are together and what that really means. As you mentioned, 25 billion. Yeah, I'd say that this is going to be a behemoth.
All right, Pete. Well, I know this one's near and dear to your heart because Pete's always got a soft spot for Minnesota companies. This is one of the biggies. Of course, 3M is up there, but Medtronic, this company, whether it was anything to do with your heart or other medical devices, Medtronic is probably part of it. They came up with earnings, Pete, of $1.36, beating by about 5 cents. Very strong earnings report. And we did indeed have some unusual activity in the name. We had it when the stock was 94 and change, Pete. Mm-hmm. And the stock popped from that level. And they were buying I think the January 95s. Yep, there it is. January 95s. And those, of course, went deep in the money when it went over 100. Just a moment ago, Pete, it was over 103.
Wow.
So the right to buy it at 95 would be worth $8 at that point. So just a very strong move on a great earnings report from a Minnesota company, Medtronic.
Yeah. And generally, John, we've been talking about how strong earnings have been. Now, I also started this all off with Home Depot not being so great. But overall, the picture as far as the earnings themselves has been absolutely extraordinary. And I think Medtronic is showing us again that even in a tough market, that they can do pretty well with these medical devices, all the things that they do, the growth that they've been able to make, John. And I think the part that stands out for me is this cardiovascular portfolio that they've got. The revenue is actually up over up 10.8% is what it is. So it just shows you that they are doing a lot of the things that they're doing right. They've got a great balance sheet. They've got a huge amount of cash if they ever want to do anything with that from the standpoint of, do they want to pick up some company or do something like that? $4.46 billion. So I think Medtronic not only performed very well on the quarter, but they've been doing a great job over time. And I love looking at the balance sheet that they've got, because it's so important, because you never know when that opportunity is going to be out there. And if they're sitting there the way they are now, they might be able to make some sort of acquisitions here in the not too distant future to just pad on to everything else that they've already got.
Well, let's dive into one last one, Pete. Hits a new 52-week low today. Energizer Holdings. And yes, this is the one with the bunny commercials and so forth, banging the drum. It's kind of a death knell for this stock, Pete. I mean, basically cautious guidance alongside this Q3 earnings report. Not at all what anybody wanted to hear if you were long this stock. It's been a tough road because, like I say, the high is like $38, Pete, and it hit a new 52-week low today of $17.65. Ouch.
Yeah, ouch. And then another ouch is the guidance that they provided, John. I mean, they did not blow anybody away with that. They talked about organic sales. Well, that's going to be down more than 2%. They talked about volumes. That's going to be down nearly 3%. So across the board, this is just one of those where you're looking at it going, you know what? Know the company, understand what it is that they do, but they just didn't give us the guidance that they needed to. And unfortunately, it just gives you a little bit of an idea of where they stand right here in this economy and everything else. So it's interesting, but they'd had too big of a miss. And you know what, when you miss on the guidance as well, that's not going to be great. That's exactly what they did. So when you look at the quarter wasn't very good. Then you look at the future, they're not giving you a very good future. It's understandable why this stock is getting hit pretty hard. Last I looked, it was down, I think, 23%, John.
Well, folks, that's it for Energizer, and no energy there at all. Pete had lots of energy, but Energizer, not so much. How about with sports, Pete? Do we have any energy problems with the Kansas City Chiefs like we were talking about yesterday?
Yeah, well, you brought it up yesterday, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do exactly what you said. Hey, let's take a look at Kansas City. And Kansas City, this is a franchise that people have grown to know as a Super Bowl franchise, right? I mean, they've got Mahomes, they've got all these different players that are so great, and you expect them to be fantastic. Well, they haven't been great, and they haven't been fantastic this year yet, John. Their record is 5-5. As a matter of fact, they're 0 for 5 in one-score games. So they've really been struggling. And it's a strange thing because when you just kind of break them down, they don't look like they're doing anything specifically bad. But I think it's because of this. They are beating the teams that they're supposed to beat and losing to the teams that actually are somewhere very close to where they are, or maybe they're even a better team. But that's been, unfortunately, the resume for what they look like right now. I mean, Detroit, I think, is the only big win that they've had, John. In the last 2 games, they went 0-2. They lost to Buffalo. They lost to the Broncos, 2 very good teams. But they beat the teams that they are expected to beat. So that's what I think the problem is here. And when you look forward a little bit, yeah, they're going to probably lose to the Colts because the Colts look pretty good this year. Probably going to beat the Cowboys, who haven't looked pretty good, unless you see them going up against the Raiders like they did yesterday, and they look pretty damn good. And that's because the Raiders look so daggone bad. But when you look at everything from what Mahomes is doing and everything else, John, it's amazing to me that when you pick it apart like that, they look great. They look fine. Their offense scores points. Their defense does a decent enough job to be winning games. But the reality is when you dig a little deeper, they're beating the teams that stink and they're losing to the teams that are pretty good. And that's exactly why they're a 5-5 football team. And at this point in time, John, I don't know that these guys can make the playoffs. Now, they probably will. Maybe they can beat enough teams that they're left on their roster on the schedule. But I don't know. It doesn't look all that promising if you're a Chiefs fan right now.
No, it doesn't, Pete. And I imagine we both have the same idea as to why that is. Number one, Philly showed everybody how to beat them in the Super Bowl last year. And how do you beat them? You put a lot of pressure on Mahomes, but he's still a top quarterback. He's definitely top 5 in my mind, Pete. Yep. It's not him that's not doing it. It's the offensive line. They need to fix that. They have not. Their running game, which is, of course, part and parcel of a great O-line, is they got to be able to run block. They are dead last, Pete, in what they call explosive plays, a run of over 10 yards. Mm-hmm. They are dead last. Mm-hmm. Again, if everybody can just wait for you to throw the ball, you're going to get more picks or knockdowns than you would get if you can threaten the run. Nobody's worried about their run right now. Pacheco or any of these, running backs in the past that had great seasons for them, Pete, are not having those seasons right now. And it's probably not the running back's fault. I'm putting it squarely on the O-line yet again. Mm-hmm. So does Kansas City have a chance? They could make the playoffs. In my opinion, they don't go anywhere if they get to the playoffs. Right. Because, again, people know how to beat this team now. And until they fix it by drafting some O-line or getting free agents, they're not going to fix it because you can't just say, well, yeah, we know we can fix this. Not without a good O-line, you can't, because you got to be able to run the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right about that. Hey, let's jump on the Raiders just for a second, John. They played last night. They stunk it up, right? And Pete Carroll, they were banking on Pete Carroll and what he could bring to the Raiders football team, right? I mean, he's always been this charismatic guy. He's got all the energy. He still does. And by the way, John, he's 74 years old, and the guy has all the energy of a 36-year-old coach. So you've got to love that about Pete. But Geno Smith is just terrible at quarterback. I mean, and somebody could say to me, that's pretty rude. What do you mean? Well, he's got 12 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. I'd say that's pretty terrible. I mean, if you're 12 and you throw 7, that's pretty bad. But this is even worse than that. So that's awful. Ashton Jeanty has not really done what we expected him to do coming out of Boise State. He was this great running back. You and I liked him a lot last year in college and all the rest of that, John. But he's not exactly rolling. He's averaging 3.7 a carry. I don't think that's what you want out of a first-round draft pick that was probably one of the guys that potentially could have even been a Heisman. And the other thing is, and you and I both like him, and I think you brought this up yesterday, John, or at least you brought his name up, but Max Crosby. He's probably a little frustrated, and I think you were talking about that part of it yesterday. Well, he needs to forget about being frustrated, and he needs to start getting more sacks, because this guy got paid, and paid in a big way, and he's got 6 sacks on the season. Now, just for a little bit of a comparison, Myles Garrett's had 4 sack games twice already this year. So shows you a little bit of a difference of somebody who's actually getting there and getting to the quarterback, and a guy you and I both really like, but he's got to perform. I mean, we can like him all day long, but you've got to have performance. He's got to get a lot more sacks than that for the kind of money that he's been paid, John. So it's something where I just don't know what they need most right now with the Raiders, but certainly quarterback. But you can't do that this time of year. How are you going to find a quarterback that's going to replace him? You can't. But there'll be somebody in the draft next year that's going to be looking for a quarterback, because I looked at the rest of the backups and everything, John. It's nobody here and nobody there. They got nothing at quarterback, and that's going to be a problem. Offensive line is decent, and I think that's probably what's hurting Genty as well as a running back. If you have no threat throwing the ball and they know you're going to run the ball, I think you can stack that up and make those tackles a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. So I don't want to be too harsh on the young, rookie, but I'll tell you what, Pete Carroll is not getting it done right now with the Raiders.
Yeah, it's true. And you and I probably didn't, I don't think we were counting them as world beaters this year, but we certainly thought that they'd do better with Pete Carroll in there, and with, for that matter, Tom Brady with his influence there. And I remember a bunch of the usual crybabies in the league, Pete, just all upset. Well, Brady, he's a broadcaster, so he's going to know exactly what our team's going to do and all this. Really? I don't think Brady's been doing that. And when you put up 300+ mil for a piece of the team, I think the last thing you want is for the NFL to say, "Yep, you're gone, and we're keeping your investment." Well, of course, that's not for the NFL to do, but I'm just saying, if he was accused of passing on, something to the Raiders, first of all, if he was, they really are doing a crappy job of it.
Hey, I'd even say this about that, John. When you're talking about Tom Brady, owners in general are never at practice. Owners are barely making it for the games themselves. I mean, it's just the way it is. They've made all their money. They've got themselves in position. They buy a team, but they also supply the team with the general manager, the head coach, and all the different people that are part of what makes the NFL teams, right? And so that isn't really what their primary thing is. It's more of a fun thing for them. And that's where I'm like, is Tom Brady really going to stand there at practice every single day? Absolutely not. And he doesn't live anywhere near there, by the way. So he's not going to be getting all these secrets and everything else. And that was something that I'm with you. I thought that was ridiculous and stupid when people were saying that. Plus, pretty big investment for Tom, and he wouldn't want to screw that up either. Yeah,
that's a fact. But to your point about Max Crosby, again, you still need people next to you.
Yeah, true.
Myles Garrett's lucky enough to have a pretty good cadre of defensive players with him, so that they can double him up, but somebody else is going to be free. It's not really the case with the Raiders right now, but hopefully, with the draft and a bunch of picks that they got coming, Pete, hopefully they can turn it around. This ain't the year, though.
No, they're struggling. And we talked about them. We also, kicked it around about Kansas City. It just shows you how the NFL, just like college football, there's a lot of surprises out there. And you know what? It makes it a better game. The fact that you've got some of these, schools, or in this case, teams in the NFL that aren't the same team that they were, and they're losing to other teams that are getting there and they're rising up there. And you and I talked about that yesterday, and there's a whole bunch of them when you go through it and you look at who's leading in the conference and everything else. It's unbelievable how much of a transition has become reality right now in the NFL and college football, which is basically the NFL. I mean, let's be honest. You got free agency with the portal. You've got the NIL money to pay these guys millions of dollars. It's basically the next level down of pro football.
Well, we'll see if we see another leg down today, Pete, in the markets. The markets at mid-session still under pressure, bounced off the bottom a little, but it wasn't like that V-shaped bottom we saw a week ago or so, Pete. This has just been a steady bleed lower for the last 4 sessions. We'll see if they keep the pressure on to make it 5.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today, folks. Pete and I will be back tomorrow at what time, Pete? It's
1 o'clock Eastern time, John.
1 o'clock. Bang.